I think the last time I saw you in public, specifically with reporters and the whole thing, was your concession speech.
Okay.
And I remember how emotional Mackenzie was behind you. In your mind in that moment, was that it for you, or did you always know, like, listen, if Senator McConnell, the moment he calls it, I'm going to be next?
Well, I think for us, it's always about like what's best for our family. How can we be helpful to the Commonwealth? And of course, for us, that means praying about it and making that decision. And so we did. We prayed and ultimately decided, as you heard me talk about in there, that we want a future for our kids that looked like the one when we were growing up, one that was based on merit and opportunity and fights for Kentucky being a part of the economy of the future and preserving our coal and natural gas resources and fighting for and securing our border and all those sorts of things. So that's ultimately why we jumped into the race. And it's a big race. A lot of folks have jumped into it, but feel very strongly about our position based on track record and the way that folks have gotten to know our family over the last several years.
Yeah. I'm curious because so many people speculated when you announced so quickly after that it was sort of coordinated, right? The senator gave you the go-ahead, like, hey, I'm going to announce today on my birthday, which was very on brand, right? And you come out with the announcement soon after. I mean, did you get the okay from him and his team that, like, okay, you can do it now, or what was the plan there?
I don't get okays from anybody. I'm my own man, and I've said that repeatedly. The biggest non-secret in town is that Senator McConnell wasn't going to run for re-election, and everybody had been gearing up sort of for when that would happen. I'm sure you knew it. Most people knew that he was not running for re-election. So our team was busy behind the scenes preparing for that, and we were prepared and obviously pushed out fast. But because I've built a track record with people across the state. But as I've said, repeatedly, and I've had to answer these questions so many times, but, I'm my own man. When people, often ask about, what guides you, it's the Constitution, it's my relationship with Christ, it's how we can best reflect the values of the men, women, and children of our 120 counties and how I can fight for those ideals that were important at our founding.
Could you describe your last conversation with President Trump?
Describe my last conversation with President Trump. Last conversation I had with President Trump was a text message, which was something to the effect of, your future's bright, that sort of thing. So been, appreciative of his friendship and support, and obviously grateful to have had him endorse me 2 times prior. But what I will say is that, I've talked about this all the time, is that, like, I've been with President Trump, back in 2023, I was only statewide office holder of, that was willing to endorse him. I mean, I got, pounded by folks in the press asking me, even though the raids happened at Mar-a-Lago and Alvin Bragg was, filing criminal charges against him in New York, folks were asking me, do you still appreciate President Trump's support? And I said unequivocally that I support President Trump and honored to have his endorsement. And I've been grateful. Look, I got to be a surrogate last year at Fancy Farm in 2024 and got to be his surrogate to other places during that campaign and been grateful for his support.
When was that text conversation?
Oh, that was right November 2023, right after the election. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there any concern, and I'm asking you candidly, is there any concern after the 23 election, losing to Andy Beshear, that you might not get his endorsement again?
Well, look, my ultimate responsibility is to get out to as many people as possible, share the news of why I'm running, what's my vision, and I've talked about that here again in this room, vision of making sure that we fight for a colorblind society, one that's based on merit and opportunity, fighting to secure our border, fighting for energy independence, and preserving our coal and natural gas industry. Like, those are the things that animate this campaign and what I'm pushing on. I'm hopeful that President Trump will honor me with another endorsement and would be grateful for it. But at the end of the day, I've got to work hard. I've got to get to as many people as I possibly can to tell them about this campaign, and that's why I'm here tonight, and that's why I've been traveling all across the state, because, again, this is about demonstrating to the people of Kentucky. And the polling at this point has been good for us. I mean, the most recent poll had me at 44% to Congressman Barr's 18%. So we're going to keep fighting and pushing, and people have gotten to know me, and I've got a track record, obviously, that people can vet, and so I'm going to keep working hard.
Yeah, just a couple more. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that, because there's no question you have the name recognition advantage here in this state with the other candidates. We've seen the cash on hand get sort of blown up, right? Some have argued, well, you don't need to spend as much on name ID because you have it. Is that gap between you and Congressman Barr on fundraising alone, is that a disadvantage for you?
Well, no, there's no disadvantage. Look, I'm leading in the polls. Andy Barr at some point is going to have to spend that money to try to, obviously raise his name ID. And, the thing that is the advantage for me has been my track record. And people across the Commonwealth have gotten to know me well. And so, look, I continue to ask people to donate. You can go to CameronForKentucky.com and donate if you'd like. This is going to be a race in which you got to get to as many people as you possible. You got to raise as much money as you possibly can. So we're fighting on those fronts. But I feel very much like, this is a race that, if I work hard, if I get in front of people and remind them of the work that I did as Attorney General and that I will stand for their values, and they know that I say that credibly because of my track record, we're going to be in a good spot.
Do you have any thoughts, real quick, before you go, on the Brett Hankison sentence? I know that has been getting a lot of attention. He'll serve 2 years, 9 months. I mean, do you have any thoughts? I know it was a federal case at this point, but...
Well, look, I think obviously, the Trump administration came in with their recommendation. As people often forget, or they intentionally forget, we brought charges against Brett Hankison as well in the state case. And look, the decision was made by the judge, and obviously think that it's important for there to be some closure. And what I've always said about our case is what was right under the law, and I will continue to say that. And again, I know it was a difficult case, a very hard case. But we and the career prosecutors in our office, which again people casually want to forget, made the right decision based on the facts and the law.
Daniel, thank you very much.
Isaiah, always
good to see you. I'll see you at
brother.
Fancy Farm.
All right,
we'll be down there.
God bless you.
Enjoy.
Thank you.